contacted me and asked me to come speak on this platform, I've gone to check. Of course, she gave me the link to check, and I checked and I saw the things that you guys were already doing, the great work you were already doing, and I felt compelled to come and speak. And also looking at the demographics in terms of the age and the kinds of people on this platform, I felt it's very, very important to talk about the topic I'm going to be talking about today. And today I'm going to be talking about your personal brand. So I assume some of you here are career people, you have your jobs, or maybe you're entrepreneurs, meaning you have your own businesses. It doesn't matter. We live in a world now where your personal brand is important and there's nothing, you can't run away from it. Whether you're in the career space or whether you're an entrepreneur, you have to be deliberate about building that personal brand. Please, I'd like to share my slides. Is this something I can do now? Can I share my slides?
Yes, you can.
All right, thank you. Let me do this. Just let me know when you see it. If you see, once you're able to see the slide, just let me know, please. Can you see my slides?
Yes, we can see it.
You can see it, all right.
Yes, please.
So once again, thank you for having me. I'm going to be sharing from this slide, so it will help our discussions and the way the whole thing will go today. What we're going to be talking about is you and your personal brand. You and your personal brand. And the reason why I want to talk about this topic is whether you like it or not, whether you believe it or not, you have a personal brand. The question now is, how is that personal brand positioned? Is it influencing? Is it distracting? Is it doing what you want it to do? Is it giving you an edge in your career or in the business space? Or is it just there and you're not doing anything about it? I'm not going to introduce myself because in Natures I've done a brilliant job of doing that, but usually it's good for people that are listening to you to know the background you're coming from. And so if you look at a little about my background, you will know why I seem to be passionate about branding and marketing. All my life, I've done branding and marketing, from my first job through research till even what I'm doing now. It's been all around branding and marketing. And even looking at the things, what I graduated in terms of the area of interest, my core area of interest were marketing, entrepreneurship, and strategy. So I'm really passionate about those topics. And that's why I do what I do. So I'm going to just skip this slide because it's already been explained. The next thing I want us to really look at is, a lot of people ask, so what is this personal branding? What is it even a thing? Is it a thing? Why is this sudden hype about personal branding? Why is it important that I'm conscious or I'm deliberate about my personal brand? And there are different definitions to what personal branding is. However, I love this definition straight out of Wikipedia. I didn't edit anything. It's exactly how it is. If you go on Wikipedia, this is what you see. And I'd seen different definitions, but this particular one is very apt. And I'm going to be pointing out some words and phrases that you have to be conscious of even as I give the definition. And so this definition says, personal branding is the conscious and intentional effort. Conscious and intentional effort, meaning you don't wake up one day and you say you have a personal brand or you have a strong personal brand. No, it doesn't just fall on you. It doesn't happen overnight. It's a conscious and intentional effort. So it's something you have to be conscious about. It's something you have to be intentional about. It's something you have to say, I'm going to be deliberate with my personal brand. And so if maybe in the past you've not been deliberate about this personal brand, you've not been conscious of it, you've not been doing anything about it, after today, I want you to go back with everything we're going to be discussing today and tell yourself that I'm going to be conscious and intentional about this brand. Because at the end of the day, it's those things that will help you, they will help position you and give you that influence that you need. And I say the word need because you in this day and age, especially because we're in the fourth industrial revolution, meaning we're in the Internet of Things, there's artificial intelligence, there's social media and all that. You need to be able to position yourself strategically, or else opportunities will just pass you by. So personal branding is a conscious and intentional effort to create and influence public perception. That's another phrase I want you to be conscious of. Create and influence public perception. So when you're building a personal brand, you're not just building it for the sake of building it. No, you're building it to create and influence public perception. And that public perception can be either in your office, your career, or in the business place if you're an entrepreneur, but it has to be something you want to influence the public with. Do you understand? So it's you're creating and influencing public perception of an individual by positioning them as an authority in their industry. So you're creating that influence and you're positioning yourself as an authority in your industry, elevating your credibility and differentiating you from competition so that ultimately you advance your career, you increase your circle of influence, and you have a larger impact. And so if you look at this definition, regardless of whether you're in a career, whether you have a job, or whether you run your own business, you need to have a conscious and intentional effort to create and influence that public perception so that you're able to position yourself as an authority. And that is basically what personal branding is all about. That is, sorry. Don't forget to stay till the end of the video submission. Thank you. Let's enjoy the session. Okay, and don't forget. All right. I was reading the notes, the comments rather. So let me just go on. So it's really important you're deliberate about your personal brand. It's very important you're deliberate about it because at the end of the day, it's going to help advance your career and increase your circle of influence. So now that we know what personal branding is, somebody might want to ask, so why is it important? Fine, you've defined it. You've told me it's a conscious and deliberate effort. Okay, I agree. But why is it important that I even have a personal brand? And the reasons are as listed. The first one is your personal brand determines how people relate with you. And so at the beginning of this talk, I had said you have a personal brand, whether you like it or not. The question is how strong or how weak is that personal brand? How strong or how weak is it? And so if you're deliberately doing things to build that personal brand, you're building it and you're making it strong. And it will determine how people will relate with you. It will determine whether they will see you as someone that they want to connect with. It will determine whether they will see you as somebody they want to give more responsibilities to. It will see you as somebody that whether they want to do business with you, depending on if you have a strong personal brand. The second thing is it positions you as the expert in your circle. So 10 of you might be doing the same thing. 10 of you might be looking for the same job, trying to fill a job vacancy. And at the end of the day, because you've deliberately grown your personal brand, because you've deliberately done things that will help that your personal brand be positioned in a certain way, you're seen as the expert in that circle. And that's why if you go on social media and you see all the people that we seem to look at as so popular, influential, and all that, check every single one of them. They have a strong personal brand. There's no one on social media or even in the world in general that we're following or that we love or that we're seeing as someone that people are wanting to listen to and all that, that is not seen as an expert in whatever it is they do. And that is what having a strong personal brand will do for you. The second is it gives you influence. So it's one thing to be an expert. There are some people that are experts at what they do, but because they don't have a strong personal brand, they're not able to create influence in their circle. And I give an example. So maybe you're in the school union. If you're the university, there's something called the student union. So in the student union, there might be many people that are experts. in terms of governance and all that. However, the one that is able to influence people in that union is usually the one that has a personal brand that stands out. And that is what having a strong personal brand does for you. It gives you influence. So people want to hear you speak. People want to listen to you before they make any decision. People want to defer to you. People want to hear your opinion before they progress, because you have that personal brand. And the fourth but not the least, it helps you command a premium in the market. These days, whether you believe it or not, and because I'm in a position where I see things, I interview people, I work with women, I work with men, I sit down in some interviews. Most times, before somebody hires you for a role, in the day we live in now, whether you believe it or not, they will check you on social media, they will look for you on LinkedIn, they'll probably check whether you have an Instagram handle, they will check you on Twitter, they'll find out how your brand is along those platforms. And so now it's very easy to find out whether somebody is the best fit for your organization. Nobody is depending anymore on what the CV says. So it's good, you can bring a CV that is well written and has everything nice and all the eyes, there and everything. But these days, people go and check. And depending on what they find, you can see that sometimes you're able to command the premium, even when it comes to the salary you negotiate with, because you've created a positive footprint along the digital platform. And so people are able to see and say, okay, this person has a positive footprint and will add value to this organization. So these are the reasons, there are many reasons, but these are the 4 major reasons why you need to build a personal brand. You need to be deliberate about your personal brand and build on it, because it has its own benefits. Now, when you're trying to build a personal brand, I want you to remember these 4 things. I want you to remember these 4 things. The number 1 thing is, you never know who is watching. You never, ever, ever, ever know who is watching. On social media especially, people are watching. If I usually tell the story of how I came online and became and started growing a business online. And when I came, I decided to grow a personal brand deliberately. And this was just about 3 years ago. And when I started, of course, people were watching, but I didn't know who, or I just knew people were watching, because I've always known that you never know who is watching. And then my very first speaking engagement when I came online, the person that invited me for that speaking engagement saw a video I did on Instagram. And then there was this body, the women body located in America. They usually do a yearly conference every year in different locations. And last year they were going to have one in Lagos, Nigeria, and they were looking for speakers. And somebody that I didn't even know was following me saw a video I did, sent this video to the organizers in America. They looked at the video, liked what they saw, and then they contacted me to be a speaker on that program. That was how I ended up being a speaker on that program. And from that program, I've attended different speaking engagements, and they all saw me on social media. So you never know who is watching. And that's why you have to be deliberate about this personal brand when you're building it. The second one is, forget about your age. It has nothing to do with your age. I've heard people say, oh, I'm too young, people will not listen to me. It's all lies. It's all lies. There are very young people doing great things online, building strong brands online, making their footprints and their impact known, and people are coming to them and helping them and doing things for them, regardless of how young they are. And then there are people that are termed old, in their 60s, that are coming onto the online space for the first time in their life. And they're also making those impacts and breaking those boundaries and doing new things that people thought they would never do. I saw a lady on somebody else's page, and I invited her to come to my page to speak to my people on my page. This lady finished with the first class in electrical engineering. She was a lecturer in the university then. At 58, she retired. And when she retired, she felt, okay, fine, I'm retired, but I don't want to just stay and not do anything. I want to do something with my life. And so she went on Facebook. Her kids told her, Mommy, go on Facebook. You never can tell. You might see something interesting. And she came on Facebook and she saw that, okay, there are people on Facebook and people want to learn, people want to interact. And so she started talking about marriage and family life and all that. Do you know this lady at 62 created an online course on marriage? She went to a school, learned how to use online, learned how to do all the Facebook thing, the algorithm, learned how to post, learned how to do everything you can think of. And at 62, when some of her mates are already retiring, when some of her mates are saying, social media, I can't come on social media, Facebook, I don't understand Facebook, Instagram, I don't know what that is. She came into that space. She created an online course and she's teaching people things around marriage and relationships. And by doing that, a radio station saw her and they invited her to become an anchor for one of their programs. So now this lady has a program on a radio station at 62. That was when she began building her personal brand at 58. So my point is, forget, it has nothing to do with your age. You can be young, you can be old. It's never too early, it's never too late to start building a personal brand. I just started building mine about 3 years ago, and I can see the impact. And I know that, the more I build it, the better. And that's what I'm saying here, that for those of you that are here, that younger millennials and all that, this is the best opportunity to become deliberate, because if you start now, you find out that over time you're building a legacy and a brand that is so strong and that you'll be able to influence people. The third thing you need to consider is consider your ideal personal brand. Remember, personal is personal. So when we say personal branding, is about you. You don't need to copy every other person. You don't need to be like every other person. Your personal brand is personal to you. However, it must influence the people you want it to influence in terms of your target audience. So your target audience can be your bosses at work, or can be the customers you want to buy your product and services. But at the end of the day, it's you, it's your ideal personal brand. And then the last is, you have your unique value to offer. Every single person has a unique value. Don't let anybody deceive you. I don't care what you've been hearing people say about you. Maybe there is, sometimes we come from backgrounds of things that have made us inferior or feel inferior, or imposter syndrome. Is not true. Every single person has a value to offer. For you to be on this call today, there's a value you have to offer, and there's something you're looking for, meaning there's something on the inside of you that wants to come out. So you have a value to offer, and you must remember that when you're building this personal brand that you want to build. The next question we go to is, okay, now you've explained what personal branding is. You've told us why it's important. You've told us the things to remember. How do I start this journey? To start your journey, I also need to remind you of these 3 things. The first thing I want to remind you of today is, people need to know you. People need to know you. You cannot build a strong personal brand if people do not know you. It's not possible. And so I hear you when you say, I'm an introvert, I'm shy, I'm all that. I hear you, all well and good. There are many introverts. I'm an introvert. If you do, there's a personality test. There are different types. But just go online, look for free personality test and do. It will help you, tell you more about your personality. My personality, I'm 71% introvert. 71% introvert, 29% extrovert, meaning if you leave me, my normal, natural tendency is to be on my own. I won't be here speaking to you because that's not my natural tendency. However, because I want to build a personal brand, and I know that to build a personal brand, you need to interact, you need to network, you need to build influence. I'm making that effort pushing aside my natural tendency to be introverted and dialing up that 28% that is extrovert, because you can't build a strong personal brand if people do not know you. People need to know you, and because remember what we defined personal branding to be, you're creating a public influence. So people need to know you, and that's what you must remember when you're building this brand. It doesn't matter how young you are or how old you are. No, just ask yourself, what is this thing that I can do? What do I have to offer? In fact, the younger people, the younger ones, you actually have the advantage because you're the millennials, you're the majority on Instagram. If you check anybody's insights, it's usually between 18 and 24, 24 and 35. So it's more people like you that are there. So it's easier for you to interact because the majority are youngish people. So you don't even have any excuse because there are people like you. You just need to find out and tell yourself, what is this one thing I want people to know me for? Every strong personal brand, you know, they're known for something. They're known for something. Rachel calls herself your next Oprah. That is what she wants to. She wants to be known as the next, you know, speaker, host, and all that. And she's already building that part with everything she's doing, bringing guests, interviewing people. It's a path she has chosen to build. And so she's being deliberate about her personal brand. And that is what everybody should do. So you might not want to be the next Oprah, but think about that thing that you want to do and you want to be known for. Because on starting this, your personal brand journey, the first thing is people must know you. They must know you, and they don't know you overnight. So don't tell yourself, oh, nobody knows me, so I can as well go and sleep because, I mean, nobody knows me. It's not true. The moment you start and you start showing up and you start showing up and you start showing up, the people that didn't know you yesterday, they will know you today when you show up. If you show up the next day, people that didn't know you today, they will see you the next day. And so little by little by little, you're building. A lot of young people are on social media, Instagram, Facebook, they're just posting pictures, they're just posting things without actually thinking, how can I use this platform to build myself? How can I use it to position myself as an expert? How can I use it to position myself so that when people, organizations are looking for a certain person in a certain field, they can see me and call me and use me? You need to be deliberate about how you position and build that personal brand. The second thing is people need to take you serious. And so if all you're doing on social media is just playing around and all that, fine. Remember, social media, the first word in social media is social. So we have to be social. We have to be social. And that's why if you come to my page, I do quirky things. Sometimes you know, I do reels, videos. Sometimes I'm just naturally social because it's expected that you're social. But you must also begin to build a footprint and authority where people take you serious. You establish yourself as an authority on a particular area, and then you're building credibility with that personal brand. And then the third thing is people need to want to connect with you. People need to want to connect with you because if they can't connect with you, then there's no point. Your message has to have empathy. It has to be a message that someone will hear and say, oh, I really want to connect with this person. I want to know this person more. I want to hear what this person has to say more. Because those are steps to building that personal brand that you desire. Now, we've talked about all the things starting your journey. I've talked about all the things you need to start this journey, how people need to know you, people need to take you serious, and then people need to want to connect with you. Now, the next thing is, you're going to ask me, so how will people know me? How will they take me serious? How do they connect with me? The first thing you need to know is, I need everybody on this call, after this call, go back and ask yourself, what is the value I bring to the table? In my job, in my career, what is that special thing that I bring? What is that thing that I can do differently in this workplace that I am, in this job, on this job that I'm doing? What is that special? Even if it might not be special in terms of it's not out of this world, it's not anything extraordinary, but the way you do it, the way you give it attention, the way you put your mind and your soul and everything to it. What is this value that I bring to the table? Because at the end of the day, people that bring value will always be rewarded. I repeat, people that bring value will always be rewarded. Nobody wants to reward somebody that is just there, not bringing any value, just taking. No, nobody wants to do that. And so regardless of how little you think the value you're bringing is, just take time and ask yourself, what is this value that I have? I might start trying to start a small business. What is that value I'm bringing? Who do I want to serve? Who are the customers I want to take care of? In my workplace, what is this value I'm looking for that I want to give somebody or that I want somebody to have? You must think about that value you're bringing. The second thing you need to think about is you need to become an expert in that thing. I know how to clean the floor. I'm an expert at cleaning the floor. I'm very good. I'm so good that if I clean the floor, you're going to see my face on that floor. It's going to shine. It's going to be sparkling. You can look and see my face. I sew. I'm going to be so good at this, so I'm not going to do it half and half. When I make this clothes, people will see that I'm the expert. In the workplace, if you ask me to do a report, I'm going to do this report so well that they will say, you're an expert in this thing, you're very good at it. So expert is not that you become a professional. When people hear experts, they think of the big things. Oh, this person is an expert, a marketing expert, a branding expert. No, well, you can become an expert in the very mundane things that you do them so well, so well that people look at you and people are like, no, this person has really done well. So don't do things lackadaisically. Don't just waste time doing things that at the end of the day there's no real value. Then the third thing is amplify your story. And I'm going to spend some time on this amplification of story. You see how this lady has carried microphone and she's talking. I deliberately used this picture because I wanted to depict what I'm trying to say. You need to amplify your story, as in make it loud. Let people know the things you've achieved. One of the problems that many people have, especially women, is we don't talk enough about our stories. And there's a difference between talking about your story and bragging. There's a difference between talking about your story and bragging. When you're bragging, it's that you put people up. I did this, I did that, No, that's bragging. And nobody wants a bragger around. But when you're amplifying your story, is that you're calling up those things that you've done. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that, because at the end of the day, people will never know your story if you don't tell them. People will not know your story if you don't tell them. It's you that will need to tell the stories. It's you that will need people to know, that will need to tell people, oh, I did this, I did that, I did that, I did that, And so by the time you amplify your story, people want to hear more about the things you have to say. People want to connect more with you. People want to do more with you. And if you don't amplify your stories, if you don't speak about your story, you find out that people that don't even know half the things you know, but because they are amplifying their own story, they are making noise, they are bragging out there, they will overshadow your own story and people will not get to hear what you have to say. I have an online course called How to Build a Strong Personal Brand, and I have some clients on that course. One of the clients I had on that course came in the course. When you do it, there's a particular lesson that I ask you to write down everything that you've ever done, everything you know how to do. Because in writing, in amplifying your story, you need to write and remember everything you've done. Now, because a lot of us have done things maybe in the past, you don't even remember. You have certifications, you've done things, you've done many things, and because you've done those things, they're part of you, so you don't remember. And so this lady does finance. She talks about financial, she helps people with their finances. And then she was on Instagram. She has a page on Instagram where she talks about finance. And then suddenly she disappeared. She just disappeared completely. And then when I asked her, she said, well, she looked at it and she was just tired. Like she was tired of, according to her, and I'm going to quote her now, she was tired of struggling this online space with all these other many people that were talking about finances. And then she said, I'm too old to be following all these people, to be dragging social media. She made mention of, she said, this person is talking about finance, this person is talking, where do I start from? Where do I even start from? They are already occupying the space. And I said, you know what? I want you to write down every single thing you've ever achieved. Just write down everything you've achieved. And then she did that. And I told her, when you write it, send them to me. And she sent them to me. And when I went through, this lady is a fellow in ICANN. We all know ICANN, Institute Chartered Accounting of Nigeria. That's the Nigerian chapter. I'm sure you have yours in Ghana. A fellow is the highest level you can ever be in that body. ICANN, Institute of Chartered Accountants. She's a fellow there. And yet, she allowed the noise, all the noise around her, to drown that thing that she is. And the reason why she allowed those noise to drown those things is because she wasn't amplifying her own brand story. She wasn't telling her own stories. And that's why I try. It took me time, because especially if you're an introvert, depending on your temperament, it took me time to begin to tell my own brand stories. Because for people that are introverts, you feel telling your story is you're bragging. And so you don't talk too much about it. People will say you're bragging. People will say why. But no, it's not bragging. It's not bragging, because if people don't know, they don't see. How do they appreciate you? How do they call you for that position? How do they give you that post? How do they give you that business? How do they give you that new role? How do they give you that promotion if they don't know all the things that you've done? If they don't know all the things you've done. So when you're building your personal brand, you need to amplify your story. You need to learn to take compliments. When people say, oh, I saw that great job you did, don't say, it's not a big deal. No, it's no big deal now. A lot of us do it. Somebody compliments you for a job well done, you just belittle it. You make it sound like nothing. And so you're not even helping your own story, because you're not amplifying it. You're not amplifying it. So you need to learn how to amplify your own brand stories. And then we've talked about 3 things now. I've talked about the things you need to do to start building this brand. I said step 1, know the value you bring to the table. Step 2, become an expert, as in be very good at what you do. Then step 3, amplify your brand story. I want to also talk about 3 things I want you to remember. And I use this image very deliberately. I need you to remember these 3 things, because these 3 things can help your personal brand or harm your personal brand. The first thing I want you to remember is, don't post what you wouldn't be proud to show your mother. Don't post what you wouldn't be proud to show your mother. And the reason is this. You know, social media, because it's social, sometimes we get carried away. And then we post things that we don't think them through. And unfortunately, what you post on social media stays on social media. What you post on internet stays on internet. You might tell yourself, oh, I've deleted it, but that 1 second you posted it, 1,000 people might have saved it in that 1 second. And so if you're trying to build a strong personal brand, always remember that the footprints you leave around the digital media is something that can come back and bite you at the backside. If you're not careful, you will have something you did years ago coming back to bite you. I read recently on Twitter, I saw one lady, she posted on Twitter and she said there was this job she had been looking for a long time. She had gone through the different stages of the interview, and then finally she was at the last stage, And she went for the interview and everything looked good. And they told her that she should not worry. In fact, the good job was as good as hers. She should just come back, and they will, within the week, they will send her appointment letter. I read it on Twitter. She didn't hide her face. She told, because she was pained. She put it out there, and she said they got back to her to say they checked her footprints online and they saw some pictures she had posted in the past that would not represent their brand in a good way. And that so because of that, she was not going to get the job. Now, some people will say, oh, it's not fair, it's not nice, you shouldn't judge her, but it's unfortunate. People are judging. Employers are judging. Employers are going to look for you online before they give you that job. So it's no longer about what you have in your brain. It's about how you behave, how your brand is perceived, or how your brand is seen in the public space. And that's why you have to be very careful, especially if you have a job, you're working in a place. There are people that have been sacked. I'm telling you facts. People that have been sacked because of what they posted on social media. And so you tell yourself, oh, but it's my personal page. No, it's your personal page, but you're representing a brand. The moment you're carrying an ID card of an organization, you're representing that brand, and the brand wants to disassociate themselves from certain things. So when you're building a personal brand, you must remember those things. Be careful of what the things you post out there. Be careful. And the rule is, if you know your mother will not be happy to see this, don't post it. That is a very safe rule. It's very safe to work with. The next thing I want you to remember is get a mentor. Get a mentor. You can't see, there's nobody that is an island. When you're navigating, whether business or career, you need to get a mentor. And a mentor will help you improve whatever it is you're doing. They help you develop what you're doing. They'll train you. They'll motivate you. They'll coach you. They inspire you. You need to get a mentor. Don't do this career business journey alone. There's no point. There's no point doing it alone. There's no point being the know-all and I can do it by myself. I don't need anybody. We all need people. I started getting a mentor for myself very late in my career. And I keep saying it, if I had a mentor, if I understood the concept of mentorship and really taking advantage of that mentorship thing. I joined the mentorship group very early, but I didn't take the advantage. I wasn't serious with it. I was busy building my career and all that. And so I didn't take that mentorship thing seriously. But your mentor can move you so far and help build your personal brand, because your mentor can influence your own personal brand. And so get a mentor. And when you get a mentor, remember, mentorship is give and take. Mentorship is not I'm taking. No. Even as you're taking, you should also give. There's something called reverse mentorship. So you're taking from the mentor, but you're also giving back. You might have a skill that the mentor doesn't have. You're a millennial, you're techie, you know how to do many things. Your mentor might not know how to do those things. Then you give back in return. So don't always think about taking. And when you're getting a mentor, people think that a mentor is only when you have a physical one-on-one. No. Or when the person knows you. You can have a mentor that doesn't even know they are your mentors. I have mentors that don't even know I'm following them as my mentor. So you shadow them, you follow them online. Thank God now for online. Thank God for data. Thank God for internet. There are many people that I see as my mentors that they don't even know. But I go, I read up about them, I follow their progress, I follow their career, I follow their levels, I see what they're doing. They are doing courses, I do all those things. So you should get a mentor. The third thing is you keep learning. You keep learning. It never ends. I'm constantly learning. I have 2 master's degrees as I speak. I'm doing a doctorate. I have many certifications. Don't believe people that tell you, oh, reading is a waste of time. It's not true. There are some doors that your education will open for you that somebody without that education might not be able to enter. And it's the truth. Don't believe when people say he doesn't have, he has a company and he's hiring doctors and all this. You don't believe those things. It might happen, but I tell you that having an education, and education doesn't really mean formal. It's not only when you go to school. There's informal learning, but make sure you're constantly learning. I do a lot of digital learning now because the digital space is not my space. I'm not a millennial, so I don't really know a lot about digital, but I'm learning, I'm doing things. And because the day you stop learning is the day you stop dying intellectually, your brain starts dying. And so to build this personal brand, you need to keep learning. You need to keep learning, you need to keep learning. And I think 1 hour, this is where I say, thank you very much. We've done about 1 hour now, and I don't want to drag it. I can go on and on and on and on and talk about this personal branding thing till forever, but this is where I'll stop. So Rachel, any question?
I think Ignatius's network.
People will drop their question chat session so that we pick it from there. So, ladies and gentlemen, kindly drop your questions in the chats or the comment section so we take your questions. But I must say that it's been interesting so far. I told you our speaker came with fire, and I've experienced the fire already. It's amazing. And I wouldn't forget the golden rule. I'll call it the golden rule. Don't post what you wouldn't be proud to show your mother.
Yes, don't. That's a very simple rule. Don't post it.
Yes. I have picked nuggets from all that you've shared today, and it's great to understand the importance of personal branding, and how it helps in this era.
Yes.
In this era that we are in, the digital age, personal branding is a must. So, ladies and gentlemen, do want to drop your questions and
ask questions. I purposely left it for 1 hour. Like Richard told me that 1 hour, then maybe 30 minutes for questions. So if you have any questions, and when she told me 1 hour 30 minutes, I was saying, it's too long. But see me now, I've talked for 1 hour.
Yeah. So there's a question here. Hello, there's a question here.
Okay.
Yes. So you spoke about getting a mentor, the importance of getting a mentor.
Yes.
So is it okay to get more than 2 or 3 mentors?
Yes, of course. It's never too much. It's never, ever. You can never have too many mentors. Because, see, the reason for getting a mentor is that somebody might be strong in one aspect. Maybe you want a career mentor. And so you look for somebody that's in the career space that can help you in terms of your career. And then you might be that you want to get married and you're looking for a marriage mentor, somebody that will help you along family life and all that. And then it might be that you also want to look at your finances. So you get somebody that will help you in terms of mentor you in financial area. And also you can get as many mentors as you can, depending on where you need help and where you need to grow. Yeah. So it's possible.
All right. There's this question from Rachel. Rachel is asking, what are the don'ts in
when it comes
personal
to
branding?
Okay, what are the don'ts? So like we have the do's. The don'ts are: 1, don't not have a personal brand. That's rule 1. So you must have a personal brand. So you should not have a personal brand. The second thing is, don't be invincible. If you're building a personal brand, you have to be visible. You have to be visible. And that's why I said, think about one platform that you can choose to say, you know what, I'm going to be visible in this place. You don't have to be visible everywhere. So for you, it might be Instagram, for you, it might be Facebook, for you, it might be Twitter, for you, it might be LinkedIn, but there must be one platform where you must be visible. You can't build a strong personal brand if you're invincible. So one of the don'ts of building a personal brand is don't be invisible. If you're invincible, then you're wasting your time. The second don't is don't be not focused. Do you understand? You must be focused, because remember the definition. We said personal branding is a deliberate and conscious effort. So it needs effort. So if you're building a personal brand, you can't be tired or not focused or try it once and leave it. No, it's something you're constantly doing. It's something you're deliberate about. The second don't is don't follow trends. Don't follow trends, because trends will come and go. Today, they will tell you that, oh, personal branding is about writing a book, and you follow it. Tomorrow, they will come and say personal branding is about creating an online course. You follow it. So don't follow trends. Don't follow trends. Just remember, you do what is you, what your personal brand. But you're not doing it for yourself. You're doing it to attract a target audience, whether at work or in the business. Then the fourth one that I'll give is, don't think personal brand is about yourself. Don't think that way, because personal branding is not about yourself. Personal branding is about creating a public. You want to influence the public. So at the end of the day, it's not so much about you, it's about the public that you want to influence. So that's a don't. I see another question here. Said you talked about not to post what your mother wouldn't like. What if it's what the organization wants? Well, if it's what the organization wants, then you have to question. Okay, so when I say, I like this question, it's actually almost like a cheap question. So when I say what your organization wouldn't like, Noel, what would your organization want that your mother wouldn't like? Please, can Noel unmute? Is it possible? Rachel, do you allow people speak? Because I want to understand the context of the question.
Yes, they can. It's actually because of the distractions. That's why we keep it muted. But they can. If your background is good, you can unmute, please.
So, Noel, can you unmute and please explain? Because I'm wondering what it is that your mother wouldn't like. And please, when I use mother, I'm just being very literal. I'm using mother because mother is usually the one that we don't want our mothers to be, But give me an example of what the organization wouldn't like, or what your organization wants that your mother wouldn't want. So that maybe we'll take you from there, and then we'll begin to question the organization too that you're working with. But while Noel is coming on,
I have an example. I have an
give
example. I don't know if it would relate.
Yeah.
So I happen to create a brand strategy for a company that is into the manufacture of condoms.
Okay.
Yes, it was a social media strategy for the company, and actually we did a good strategy, but I didn't post the artwork that they,
because you didn't want your mother to see it.
Yes.
No, but you see, no. So Ignatius, that one is not. See, when you're doing condoms, you're actually saving lives. You're preventing people from getting STDs. You're preventing people from, so it's actually a socially responsible thing that you're doing. So any mother, fine, you might say the mother traditionally our mothers are, but any mother that you explain that to, and in fact most mothers you don't even need to explain that to them, because if you ask, some of them are probably even using it because they know it's about being socially responsible. So that one is not, I don't even see it as an issue at all. We might want to be moral and say, okay, let's not talk about it at all. But in that case, you're actually doing social good. So I don't see it as something that your mother wouldn't like. No, it's not.
All right, all right, all right. Okay.
I see another question here. It said, is it okay to include people in your personal brand, like doing a collective work with 3 or more people? Of course, why not? What I'm doing here now, I'm working with Rachel and I'm working with Ignatius, even though it's my personal brand. I'm working with them because my personal brands, my values connects with their own personal brands. I went to check out what they are doing and there's a connection. So as long as there's a connection between your values and what you want, what you stand for, there's nothing wrong in you working collectively with 3 or more people. The question you'll be asking yourself is, are my values connected with these people? Do they believe the same things I believe? It's not everybody that invites me to come and speak on their platform that I go for. It's not everybody, because I'm trying to build a personal brand and I have to protect that brand. And so I'm very selective with the platforms I go to speak on or the people I work with. Because the moment you go and speak on a platform or the moment you work with somebody, you're indirectly endorsing that person. You're indirectly saying, I support this person, I support what this person is doing. And so you have to be careful with your personal brand and the kinds of people you work with. So that Lintona, even though you said working with 3 or more people, there's nothing wrong with that. But you have to ask yourself, these people, are they going to help my personal brand or are they going to dilute my personal brand? Am I adding value? Are they adding value? Are my beliefs and their beliefs in sync? And only when you answer that question should you now go ahead and say, okay, fine, our values are the same. I've had many people come to me and say, oh, I want you to come and do a podcast with us, or I want you to come and speak on our platform. And when I go and read and check them out, my spirit just doesn't go, and I don't. Because I'm building a personal brand and I'm careful with what is called brand association. You have to be careful what people associate your brand with. All right. Any more question?
Okay, I have a question here. Building a personal brand. What of building a consistent brand and building an authentic brand? Opportunities come your way. Some people, because some opportunities come their way, they tend to relinquish their personal values and then go in for those opportunities just because they need to probably gather some money and then come back. Let me give an example. For instance, let's say the person is building a brand to be a good salesperson.
Okay.
And in the process of building that brand, he veers off because an opportunity came, or let's say, let me use the entrepreneur, for instance. The person is always advocating for entrepreneurship. He has his business and he's consistent about it. But along the line, there comes an opportunity from another company, which provides him bigger money, but different brand positioning, which is different from his personal brand. So because of the money, he goes in for that organization and he's no longer an entrepreneur.
Okay.
In cases like that, is it okay for what notion or what perception does it create on that person's target audience? Because it's like today he's talking about entrepreneurship and the next day he's veered off totally.
So at the end of the day, it's actually about remember what I said about personal branding. Is the first word in personal branding is personal. So it's about your own personal goal, what you want to achieve, what it is you want. Nobody can force you to have a certain kind of personal brand. You have to decide. So if the person decides today and say, you know what, this personal brand, I'm no longer happy, I'm no longer comfortable with this personal brand, I'd rather go with more money and more, something else because I need the money, then it's the person's prerogative. It's not for you or for myself to judge the person and say, oh, the personal brand has derailed. No, it's the person's prerogative. What it just means is that the people that you've created, the body that you've created, the people that were connecting with you because of that personal brand that you were, they will no longer be connected because they will have to move on since the values they saw or the things they saw about you are no longer there. You understand? So at the end of the day, it's not, it's not, it's your personal brand. So it's you that decide, I want to pursue this course on this path to the end, or I'm just tired and I want to move on and do something else.
Okay. Great answer. Awesome. I'm enjoying it already.
Thank
Ladies
you.
and gentlemen, if you have further questions, kindly drop them.
Any more questions? Please ask.
Yes. I think a lot of people are meditating on what you shared because it's deep. Okay, there's someone here.
Is there a question?
Am I supposed to send it inside the chat?
I guess you can go on and ask.
Yeah, you can ask.
Yeah.
Okay, please. Good evening to everybody.
You can go.
Good evening.
This one is, I'm very sorry that I joined very, very late. Honestly, this kind of this kind of topic is very, very interesting to me because about branding. And I would like to know, I don't know if you've already spoken about this already. I want to know if you have a dream of becoming, let me say, a global entity. Probably you want to be in the limelight as a global personality.
Okay.
Like, I don't know whether you've spoken about it already, but I think I feel like asking.
Ask. Even if I've spoken about it, just go on and ask.
Okay. How should you carry yourself, and which kind of associations should you mingle yourself so that this dream will come true? I don't know.
So I've talked about it a little. Let me just do a quick recap. So if you want to build a global brand, it means that you have to position yourself in such a way that people are able to connect with you, and then you're able to create influence. Now, you can't build a global brand in isolation. You're building a global brand connected with something. So, Richard, let me ask you, when you say global brand, and I'm just asking randomly, it doesn't have to be something you've thought of. Just give me one area that you want to build a global brand around.
Okay, give me one area. Let's say you want to be a global economist or an economist globally.
Exactly. So you want to be an economics globally, and that was why I talked about personal branding. You have to look for one thing that you want to be known for, because personal branding is thinking about that one thing that I want people to know me for. That when they call my name, they will say, I know that this person is known for this thing. For instance, if we say Richard Branson now, we all know Richard Branson for something. If we say Elon Musk, we know him for something. If we say Steve Jobs, we know him for something. Bill Gates, I can go on and on and on. So when you've chosen that thing, Richard, you said an economist, you want to be known as a global influencer around the area of economics. It means that you now have to come out and position yourself by, number one, you begin to talk about things around economy. You begin to talk about, and that was what I did with Brand Fusion. This is my brand, my handle. I came out, and because I wanted to be known as an expert in the area of branding and marketing, I created a page on Instagram, and I started talking about branding and marketing. And I was consistent. And I've been talking about branding and marketing for 3 years. And that's why Rachel can see me and say, I want you to come and talk to us about a particular topic, because she's seen me consistent over a number of years talking about the same thing. So Richard, you need to now say, I want to be known as a global influencer around economics. I'm going to come out, look for a platform, whether it's Instagram or Twitter or LinkedIn or Facebook. You have to look for a platform. The thing about building a personal brand is, without a platform, you can't build any brand. You have to build a brand on a platform, because that's where people will see you. So when you choose that platform that you want to be known, it doesn't have to be every platform. You don't have to be on every platform, no. You don't have to be on every platform. Choose one and then begin to talk about economics, the economy of this, things happening around us, things, and you're consistent. The second thing I said was you become an expert. So you're not just talking just for talking sake. You're reading, you're researching, you're doing things so that people know that whatever you talk about, whatever you say about economics is the authentic thing. And then people now begin to listen to you more and more. People want to spend time to hear what you have to say. People want to, spend time to make sure that, he has said something or he has dropped something. Let's go and listen. That is how you begin to build that influence. And before you know it, because you're building on the digital space, people will see you from every part of the world. I have students on my online courses from Canada, America, from Ghana, everywhere, because I'm building a digital footprint that can be seen across the globe. So that's how you start, but you have to start. You have to start, and then you now begin to build on it, and then you go on.
And please, I'll follow up.
Okay.
So please, how long will it take for you to reach that particular destination? How long?
It's not, that's the thing with personal brand. It's not like school that you say year one, you finish year one, then you go to year two. No, it depends on how consistent you can be. I started building my personal brand September 2017. That was when I posted the first post on Instagram, the logo. And this is 3 years later. This is 3 years later. So for me, somebody can say it has taken me 3 years or 2 years, depending because my first speaking engagement, public speaking engagement that was seen by those people I talked about, that somebody saw me and sent to the organizers in America, was in January 2019. So if you say September 2017, the whole of 2018, so you can say a year and 6 months. That's for me, because I was consistent, I was there. Somebody else might come and is really very, very consistent, more consistent than myself. So for the person, it might be 1 year. Somebody else can come and today consistent, tomorrow not consistent. It might be 3-4 years. So there's really no time range. It depends on how hard you work to build that personal brand and how you're consistent with it. Yep.
There's another question in the chat session from Danielle saying, please, I'd like to know your take
on
recover from a poorly started brand.
Personal brand or a mad brand. There's something called, in branding, there's something called rebranding. There's something called rebranding, and you can actually do it, whether personal brand or a business brand. You can totally take a brand. Let's say this brand that I have now, something maybe happens to it and it has a bad reputation, it did something scandalous and all. And that's why you have reputation managers. There are people called reputation managers. There are organizations called reputation organizations. And so you can rebrand. You can say, look, this brand, there was a mistake, there was a scandal, I did something, and then I want to change. It takes a lot of work. And that's why I usually advise that don't even be in a position where your personal brand or your business brand is involved in any scandal or is mad, because the effort to change the perception, it takes a lot of time, but it can be done. It's about redoing the things that put you in that position in the first place. If it's something you need to come out publicly and apologize for, you apologize for that thing, whether on the personal brand or the business brand, and then you commit to saying, oh, we've learned our mistakes or whatever, and we're changing, we're rebranding, we're refocusing, and then you move on. If it's something that doesn't need you coming out to apologize, then you find a way of just doing it, but it can be done. It just takes a lot of work. You have to go back to the root of what caused that marrying in the first place. And like I've said, if it's something you need to apologize publicly for, you do. If it's something you don't need to apologize, then you begin to see. The truth is, people move on. People are quick to move on to the next news, the next scandal, the next thing. So as long as you're deliberately making that effort to change, people are going to see that you're making that effort. And with time, people will move on to the next story or the next scandal or the next whatever. And then with time, they will see that truly, this brand has changed and people will start connecting.
Amazing. I've enjoyed your fire today, and it's recorded in my memories. History will have it that on this day you came to share wonderful insights with us, and yes, history has it. And I would urge all the doers of what has been, she's sharing it